The International Council on Security and Development came out with a map. They do a lot of maps. Recently about Taliban control of Afghanistan. Take a look at the picture. And if you take a look there, you can see that 80% of the country is now run by the Taliban. And with 17% of it moderately controlled by the Taliban. It's a long, convoluted story about where the origin of the word Taliban came from. Actually, it's one of our words for these people. They used to be the Mujahideen back in the 80s when we were funding them to fight Russia, back when they were invading that country. But the point is that since we've invaded back in 2001, Taliban has gotten more control, not less, over the country. The fact that we are dropping bombs and boots on the ground. Matter of fact, Donald Trump just said, "Hey, let's put 3,000 to 5,000 more advisors in the country." Of course, advisors is just a very friendly way of saying soldiers, because these are soldiers that are advising the Afghani military on how to fight, and then they are, of course, joining in the fight as well. So just to call them advisors, it's a misnomer. My point is that we have been dropping bombs for 16 years now, and they have a stronger foothold. Your Taliban and your ISIS have a stronger foothold in that country than they ever did before. We have solidified it. When we talk about the American Revolution, I hear quotes from people like, "A man defending his home is stronger than 10 soldiers." It does make sense, looking at it from our standpoint, that the American Revolution, we were fighting for our freedom. Before I say this, I'm going to preface it by saying I don't agree with the way these people live their lives. I don't agree with their Sharia law. I don't agree with the way they mistreat women. And the country is just a mess. It's a huge mess, partly due to our interference, our constant bombing. When you do this, when you invade a country, you are implementing your laws on them. They don't like it. They just don't like it. I mean, the reason why we invaded was 9/11. And it was because they're the ones that attacked us. Meanwhile, we get Saddam Hussein, excuse me, I keep making that mistake too. Osama bin Laden was in Pakistan. Whether he was hiding in the caves, why did we think he was there? The CIA dug the caves. The whole story. We're there for not a very good reason. Just slightly, marginally better than the reason why we got into Iraq. That was a bald-faced lie. I understand the knee-jerk reaction after 9/11 to do what we did in Afghanistan. But we witnessed it firsthand in the 80s, how the Russians tried to do this very same thing, and they failed miserably, partly due to the fact that we funded the Taliban, the Mujahideen. We funded them. We funneled money through Israel and the Mossad, and they sold weapons to a third party which sold the weapons to the Mujahideen. And they used it against the Russians. Ipso facto, we were fighting the Russians using the Mujahideen. And then after it was over with, we got the hell out of there. We didn't care about the destruction and the aftermath that we left in Afghanistan. We just left. We just took off. And those young boys that lost their fathers in that war, they grow up hating us. Namely, one of them, according to many people, is Osama bin Laden. Although I think that's been debunked many times because He used to be a, what's the word I'm looking for? An asset for the CIA. So, to circle all the way back around to my point, we invade that country and we strengthen the resolve of the people. They are still fighting and they control more of the country than they did before we invaded them. Nation building does not work. Invading foreign countries and sprinkling seeds of democracy does not work. They do not want it. These people are Islamic. They believe in Islam, not what we believe. We want to go in there and drop our seeds of democracy and sprinkle in a little of our Christianity, and they look at us like we are from Mars. We're aliens. Democracy is a much better form than a theocracy, which is a religious-based running of a country. That's what Afghanistan has. But at the same time, so does Saudi Arabia. And they are one of our biggest allies. They are a theocracy. They chop people's heads off in their Times Square area, I don't know what it's called, for witchcraft. And if you're an atheist, you are considered an infidel. If you're a Christian, you're considered an infidel. We spent $5 trillion on a war in Afghanistan. Meanwhile, our infrastructure is crumbling. Our healthcare is a hot mess. Our education system is really shitty. It's gone from bad to worse in the last 20 years. We have a lot of things to fix at home, and we are so busy spending money, dropping bombs on countries that are just getting stronger due to the fact that we're bombing them. When are we going to learn? This does not work. What is victory? We need to define that. Because when we ask the question and they don't have an answer, they're essentially telling you, we are going to stay here forever. We're never going to leave. We have 800 military bases around this planet. We spend $100 billion a year just maintaining them. We have a military presence in every pocket of this globe. And we are doing nothing but pissing people off. I am for being protectionist of our country. And if a sovereign nation attacks our sovereign nation, I am down to kick some ass. But constantly going over saying, I don't like their leader because he doesn't support our values. That's none of our fucking business. Yes, they are in a region that holds a lot of oil and natural gas. And that seems to be all we really care about. We cannot spread our democracy as a cover for the fact that we are invading countries for our vested oil interests. Hey, this is Antoinette from Transistor Rodeo. If you like what you saw here, please subscribe for more videos and content, and you can follow me on Twitter at Transistor Rodeo.